Consultation Podcast Network.
There'll be thunder and lightning, but we're safe and sound, and I won't need no more on the warm side of the door. There's always people who love you, that will kiss you and hug you, and it's always Christmas on the warm side of the door.
Yeah, we didn't have anything for Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens.
Welcome back to Blood and Black Rum Podcast Festivus Series, where we're covering your favorite Christmas films all December long. You can expect to hear episodes on The Santa Claus, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3, and more. So tune in for all of your favorites.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from Coldsploitation.com, and I'm joined by my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
And we're back again with our Festivus series. We did part 1 last week with Santa Claus. Had a lot of fun.
The Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus, that's right. Not just Santa Claus, because then that could be confused with like the 1980 whatever, or 1990 movie of... That's not very good, but... No, we're talking about the actual The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. The only one, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And not Santa Claus versus the Martians, either.
Classic.
Although that one is fun, especially when you watch it with the commentary from Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Probably their most favorite famous episode.
Probably, yeah. We hope to achieve that level of esteem at some point with our commentaries, of which we've done one.
We will surpass one day them in Red Letter Media.
Yeah. I do like doing commentaries, though. It's just very difficult. You have to really be on your game, especially because we don't write anything in advance. So, like, when you have MST3K... So some of that obviously was not scripted. It was just kind of improv, but some of it is also scripted. And when you do a full length movie, especially one that you haven't seen in a while, it makes it really difficult to do an actual commentary and fill the entire time. Especially when it's something like RoboCop. That's all around
a bad movie, and there's a lot to say about it, but at the same time, when you're actually watching it, it's like, there's going to be some dead spots. It's like, this movie has a lot of dead spots in it. It's like... And who really wants to talk about in those dead spots? Because normally in a commentary, when there's like dead spots, it's like you bring up like fun facts
about the film,
or like background on the production. But nobody gives a shit about RoboCop 2014. So
that was a tough one to do.
So it's like, what? Here's some background information. Oh wait, no, what's that? Nobody cares. All right.
We're coming up on our 100th episode, so are we going to tackle another commentary? Is that what we're doing, or?
I don't think we should do a commentary. I think we should just do a
review like we normally do.
Yeah.
Talk in depth about it.
Because I think that movie deserves
All right.
But
I do want to do another commentary at some point. It is fun. More so on something that we know very well. So that might be something we could do for, say, Christmas with the Cranks. Because you know that one pretty well.
Yeah.
Could do a commentary on that. That might be a little fun Christmas treat.
Yeah, drinking game part, tell everyone you gotta take a drink.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a good idea. That might be something that we hold out on.
Explain the rules to drinking with the Cranks.
That would be fun and also very
warnings that need to come with that episode.
Absolutely.
Not going to be held responsible for somebody dying of alcohol.
Well, today we have a Christmas tradition. Since we started the show, we have done a Silent Night, Deadly Night episode every year. And this time we're on Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, which is subtitled, Better Watch Out! And...
Which, by the way, love that. Love that. It's a nice little nod to Christmas. Like I said, I know the ones after this have subtitles.
Yeah.
But they're shitty and not Christmas related. Like if I was like making Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 4, I would like have it be Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 4. Deck the halls in blood.
Yeah. Something like that. It just really is going off of the Christmas tradition a little bit. Wreathed in blood. Something like that.
We wish you a killing Christmas.
The original title for the first Silent Night, Deadly Night was Sleigh Ride, Slay. Sleigh Ride. So
I like Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I do too, and I think that's kind of why they change it up a little bit. But I mean, I think that Sleigh Ride also hints at what you're talking about, which is taking the idea of like a Christmas themed wordplay and you know, and like making something out of it, which Silent Night, Deadly Night does as well. But I do like some of that wordplay that they do. And Better Watch Out isn't really wordplay, but it more so just references the Christmas spirit, which
of Santa Claus is coming to town.
Which, to be honest with you, this film
has none.
Almost no Christmas.
Besides people being like, "You were dreaming of Santa?" Because it's Christmas Eve. Oh, didn't know.
This one doesn't
look at it at all. It's still it's only the late 80s. Christmas hasn't been, put to war yet.
No. This one does not give you the holiday feels at all. First of all, it's set in California. So, unlike the Silent Night, Deadly Nights of past, there's no snow in this whatsoever. The only thing that, like you said, what you really get is people dropping hints that it's Christmas. Like, my favorite part, what you mentioned, is like when she says she had a dream and she dreamed of Santa Claus, and he's like, "Why'd you dream of Santa Claus?" And she says, "Well, probably because it's Christmas Eve."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay.
Well, one, you're doing an injustice here. She did not say that with that much enthusiasm.
No, okay, that's true.
In fact, because I missed it the first time that she said it, I only know that she said it because they flashed back to that. So I was like, oh, she said that? I didn't hear that the first time because she was, I mistook our lead actress as a 2x4 to Beechwood.
Yeah, she is very wooden in this. But if you're looking for a Christmas movie, Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 is not that movie for you.
She's got the personality of a Quaker. Just very like, nothing.
Nothing there. Nothing going on in there whatsoever. So it's really difficult to talk about Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 without getting into some of the nuances of the first two Silent Night, Deadly Nights, because it doesn't compare whatsoever. This film wants to work off of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 with Ricky, because Ricky's the main focus of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, taking over for his brother after he saw his brother getting shot when he was killing people in the first film. However, this Ricky's not the same, played by Bill Moseley, rather than the Ricky from the previous in Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and almost nothing matches up because we don't even get flashbacks of like the original Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. It just goes right back to the first one.
Which the flashbacks they use from the first film don't even make context within the sense of the film. At least in Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, the whole reason they're flashing back to the scenes from the first film, not just for the practical reason that they need to pad the film, but because it's, a detective and Ricky and they're, retelling his childhood story. So that's why they're doing it, even though in that sense it doesn't make sense either, because all those things happened to his brother, not him. So.
I just wanted to bring that up before we really get into the film, because we're probably going to mention it quite a bit, of how this doesn't match up with your other Silent Night, Deadly Nights, and a lot of things seem like they don't connect whatsoever, even though the film wants them to connect. Let's take a break before we get into the full Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 Better Watch Out criticism and commentary. And let's talk about the beer that we've got on the show today, because it's a different one that we've never had before, and this is a style that we generally wouldn't ever get at a store. Like if we actually... I've never seen this beer in stores before. So what I got was a growler of our local brewery, and I say local in I guess 45 minute sense, because it's not technically like anywhere near us, but it's about 45 minutes away. And I do have a couple growlers to Brown's Brewery in Troy, New York.
And we've talked about them before.
Yeah, we've had a couple of their beers on here before. And so I got my sister was going out to Troy, so she grabbed my growlers and she filled them up for me. And I saw on tap that they had what to me I assumed was called a Rauchbier. I just, that the way that it looked spelled Rauch, I thought it was a Rauchbier.
It's German though.
Yeah, it's a traditional German beer.
So you should have known better. That's not how you pronounce it.
Yeah, normally German stuff is much more aggressive. So, and in this case, that is true as well. It's actually pronounced Rauchbier. I think I did it right. You try it.
Rauchbier.
Rauchbier. It's very gruff.
I would just say, like a
Rauchbier.
Rauchbier, right? Technically, I know it doesn't, pronounce Reich, but
Yeah.
just some. Or Rauch. I would be fine with that, just because it's like, don't.
Yeah, it's just
Don't give make your throat bleed by.
very gruff sound. That's all. Just say it like that. Rauchbier.
It just means smoked beer.
Yeah, that's what it means in German, smoked beer. And I've had smoked beers before. One of the ones that sticks out to me the most is Sam Adams when they had their
The Rauchbier Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? That's the one I was thinking of, actually. Because we did do that on the podcast. Because I remember you being like, I don't really, like you said you liked it, but like you weren't really feeling it. I said, I like it a lot. It tastes like a bonfire. This is great.
Yep. And so that's the one that stands out to me. So we've had them on here before.
It had to be last fall then.
It probably was,
Because that's to me yeah.
That's the one that stands out. But in this case, this Browns is technically considered a Marzen style beer with the smoked flavor.
Well, I think
it's added
because it's a smoked beer. You can basically just have and I've not
like a
knowledgeable source on this,
right.
But my guess is because it's a smoked beer would be you can take like any kind of style of beer and add smokiness to it by whatever means they smoke the beer.
That makes sense to me.
And that's why they say it's a Rauchbier, of the Marzen style. So it's a Marzen style beer, so an Oktoberfest that they, smoked.
Yeah. It's an interesting style. So obviously you really need to like that smoky flavor to really get the most out of a Rauchbier. I
think if you like whiskey, like if you like your bourbons.
I mean, I love bourbon, but I wouldn't say that I'm a huge fan of the Rauchbier. I can drink it, and I don't think it's as bad as when we got the old ale, which we also got from Browns, who apparently loves to try out really different styles, and I like that because that's something that you just don't get that often. So I wouldn't say that I don't like this in the sense that the old ale really did not make me crave another one because of its pruniness and its dried fruit and other flavors. But the Rauchbier is definitely an acquired taste, and you really have to like that smoky flavor, or at least maybe not have to like it, but have to be in the mood for it. So I wouldn't say like this is a beer where you'd go and say like drink a few at the bar or something like that. This is really one that you sip and savor. And it's really for a specific mood that you're in. Would you agree? Like you wouldn't get done mowing the lawn and be like, you know what I could go for? A nice smoky Rauchbier.
Chase it with eggnog.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I like it quite a bit. The more I'm drinking it, I do like it, starting to kind of grow on me more. I think I'd almost change my rate, the rating I gave it on Untapped and kind of bump it up a little bit. But I do like it. I do like that it's smoky. Because one of the favorite things in the world to me is the smell. The smell on your clothes after a nice campfire. Love it.
It's nice.
I don't shower for the next couple of days. I'm like, it's just that lovely smell on me. But which is what the taste reminds me of. It's like if you inhaled straight from a campfire. Mm-hmm. And I like it. I think it's really good. I love the smoky taste to it. I love the scent. Mm-hmm. You also do get the taste of the Marzen style itself, which we're both major fans of Oktoberfest here.
Yeah.
Which is so I think it's a, great little twist on the beer. That being said, I do agree it's not something I would ever run out to get though. Mm-mm. I like it's even though I wouldn't say it's a dessert beer, I would say it's a dessert beer in the sense I'd have it a little bit after a meal or something and be like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Or if I was sitting by a campfire and just had one of these, I'm good. I appreciate it for what it is. I do like it. But it's not something I'd be on a weekly list of I gotta have that Rauchbier.
Well, I think after drinking it a little bit more, I definitely can taste that Marzen style within here. So in that sense, it's interesting because you are kind of getting two different beer styles at one time. You can taste Brown's Marzen style, their Oktoberfest, and then also you can taste the smokiness, and that kind of creates a different style of beer, and it makes it like you could smoke any beer. And you could have I don't think I'd probably recommend it, but you could have a smoky IPA.
We'll probably see that at that beer fest.
It'd be the next thing that comes out.
Like a
smoky ghost.
Like a smoked, which we've had before, like a smoked porter or stout, that really goes well together. I think it's interesting to have this, the malty sweetness of a Marzen. And again, if you're not into beer, I don't mean like sweet, like, ooh, like you're sucking on like chocolate or like a sweet tart, but like just like a bready sweetness. That clashing with the smokiness. It's an interesting combination. I think it works, but it's interesting. I think your mileage is definitely going to vary on how much you like smoked product. Yeah. Are you somebody who's a big fan of smoked and cured meats?
Yep, smoked meats, smoked fish.
And grill. If you like that kind of stuff, you're going to probably like this beer.
Yeah.
But again, it's, I would say, in a very limited amount.
You got to be in a mood. Really got to be in a mood. But I think it's interesting. And it's almost like what I had when we went to World of Beer this past weekend.
Which I'm glad you brought up. So
we'll talk about a little bit. Well, I went to World of Beer this past weekend. It was like on Friday. And one thing that I tried, because I'll leave the other thing for you to bring up, I tried an infused beer, which World of Beer does as a specialty. So they take a beer that they have on tap, and then they infuse it in their special infuser with some sort of different ingredient to kind of change up the flavor of that beer profile. Kind of in the same sense of like what a Rauchbier does, is put the smoke in it, so it changes that beer profile a little bit more. So what I had was an apple cinnamon infused ESB. So that caught my eye because I do like ESBs, and I just wanted to give it a shot and see what the apple cinnamon flavor was. And I thought it was pretty good. It's almost like having like a tea added to your beer. You know what I mean? Like or like, some sort of like spicy apple cider concoction added to your beer. So it was pretty good, and I had a 5 ounce because I wasn't sure if I was really going to like it, but I did find it to be nice, and the pairing was kind of interesting because your ESB is kind of hoppy, and actually my wife, I think probably summarized it pretty well, is that she said it tasted like one of those like pine soaps, like if you were to literally put a pine soap in your mouth and lick it, or something like that. That's the taste that you would get. Christmas potpourri soap. And I mean, I don't disagree with that, but I enjoyed the taste, and apparently she did not. So, but I'll let you bring up the other thing that we both had. Well, we were at World of Beer in 2 separate occasions.
Yeah, because we didn't go together. But one thing I do want to mention is World of Beer a national chain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they are national. Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't know if it was like a regional thing or not. So okay, but we both tried while we went there on our own separate occasions, and the whole reason I went there is because you brought it up. Was that we tried Founders Breakfast Stout. But it's not their normal breakfast stout, which we both had before, and Founders Breakfast Stout is one of my favorite beers of all time. It's like the perfect stout that I've ever had in my life. They had on tap what they call their Canadian Breakfast Stout, which is their breakfast stout, but they give it like a mapley flavor to it to add to it. So you get the traditional breakfast stout taste of like coffee and dark chocolate notes, and tends to be a lot higher on the alcohol side, like in 8 to 10%, alcohol, imperial stout, very rich, malty, a dessert beer. And with this, they add like a maple flavor to it, and I think what they did was they aged it in like a different style barrel.
Yeah, maple bourbon barrel.
To add that flavor to it. And I love it. As I said before, I love their breakfast stout. It's one of my favorite beers of all time. And the Canadian one, love just as much. I don't think, and Ryan's going to disagree when he talks about it, but I don't think the maple's that overwhelming. I don't think it's that distracting to the normal profile of the beer. I think it adds just the right amount of sweetness to it to mix it up and to make it a little bit different. So to me, the maple's there, and it adds a different character and a different, take on the beer, but I don't think it's anything major. To me, it's not so like overwhelmingly dominant or unnoticeable that it doesn't make for like the change to be necessary. I think it's like a good little, mix up.
Yeah, I like the beer as well. And I really, really like the breakfast stout. And I'll start off by saying that I think I still like their regular breakfast stout more than the Canadian breakfast stout. With this Canadian breakfast stout, you really get an enhanced coffee profile in it. Like a lot of flavorful coffee within that stout.
Or I'd say like the original, and it's a good thing you kind of brought it up because I didn't really think about it. But the original is more like a nice balance between the oatmeal, the coffee, and like the dark chocolate. You're right. This one does have like kind of a higher, much more emphasis like on the coffee.
A lot of coffee in there, which I do like. The maple itself, though, for me, seemed to be a little overpowering, and I found it a little too sweet on the back end after I was, done, like, when I swallowed.
You gotta use your word.
I know.
The word of the...
Cloying.
Yeah.
Found it a little cloying on the back end after I was, swallowing, after I was finished with it in my mouth. So, I mean, I would say it was really good, and probably one of the better beers I've had in quite a long time. I just didn't find it as perfect as some of the other people. Now, the thing with this is, I was at World of Beer, and I'd been there for about an hour. I'd already had one beer and the ESB that I talked about, and I was going for my last beer, and I was going to get the 2X Tangers from Southern Tier, and then the waitress, was like, oh, we have Founders here. We have a special beer here. They just tapped the keg. They just and actually I think it was in a cask. So they just tapped the cask, and it was the Canadian breakfast stout. And she's like, they don't really make it that often. This is like the first time in a long time that they made it.
I've never heard of it. But granted, our selection of Founders around here is pretty limited.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, you convinced me. I'll take that. And it was fucking $10, but it was totally worth it.
Was it $10?
Yeah, it's $10 a glass. Yeah.
It wasn't for me.
How much was yours?
$6.
Really?
I didn't go during happy hour.
Maybe mine was just because it was like the night that they were there. Like it was opening night for that, so maybe they were charging extra that night. I don't know, but whatever the case, it was worth it.
They must just not like you because they said
they fucking got me for that. They got me for changing beers or something like that because they charged me for what it was called, like a mix up
is what you said.
No, it was like a mix charge up or something like that. I don't know what it was, but it seemed like it was every time I changed beers they charged me $1 or something like that.
That's ridiculous.
I don't know.
I mean, genius, especially if you're like at a craft place where people are kind of going to be
I kind of get it. Because they got to change glasses every time.
Oh, well, no, I would be like, that. You can pour that in there. I don't care if I just had an IPA and you're putting an Imperial Stout in there. Just fucking pour it in the glass. I don't care, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I know, but I get it because they're like, ooh, I got to put this one in a tulip glass. Oh, I got to put this one in. You know what I mean? They're very particular.
No, I know they are, cause they tell you with each beer that they have on the menu what kind of glass. Like, if you just got like a Jack's Abbey, lager, comes in American pint glass. If you got the Canadian breakfast stout, which we did, comes in a tulip glass, not a whole 16 ounces, only 12-ounce glass. And it's,
I gotta say,
to me, like, I'm not like particular about. I don't fucking care. Just give it to me, and
I know that they're designed to technically be served like that because of the way that it warms and stuff like that. I really don't.
I don't care either. I don't care. You put it in a fucking pint glass. I know, like, a lot of people who are into craft beers think the American pint style glass is like a total bastard thing. Because it's, it's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It doesn't fit for any beer. But it's like, I don't care. Just put it in that. That's what I want. I don't need, if I'm getting like a Pilsner Urkel, I don't need a Czech-style Pilsner glass for it.
Yeah.
Just give me a fucking pint of it.
No, I agree. I'm not as particular about that as other people.
I'm not going to be sitting there. Look, as much as I like the beer, I'm not going to be sitting like wafting and swirling it around in my mouth and, like, let me try to find, the most, subtle flavor in here so I can mark it down,
on the flavor profile. Yeah. No, I agree. All right, let's get into Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. And I'll preface this by saying I don't know how much we actually have to say about this film. So let's first run down the plot. After the events of Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, where Ricky got the shit blown out of him in RoboCop style.
I really don't remember him getting his head,
apparently blasted through, his head blasted by gunshots, just shot all through. That's what happened, I guess, in Silent Night 2. However, conveniently, the film does not show us this happening, like it shows us everything from Silent Night Part 1. after those events, apparently Ricky's in a coma. He's been left in a coma. Official diagnosis from the doctor written on his clipboard is coma.
Which is funny, because apparently his doctor's been working with him, like, since he got there. He didn't know he was, like, brutally, shot and shit.
I think he did, and he just didn't bother to
give a shit.
Care. Yeah. But I just love that, too, because, like, when you think about, like, a literal medical condition, you don't think, like, coma is not a medical condition. Coma is a state you're in because of a medical condition. So, like, you might say, like,
coma because of cardiac arrest.
Yeah, coma. Because of cardiac arrest or stroke or something like that. But coma is not like a diagnosis. It's not like what does he have, doctor? He's got coma. It's just like, it's just so funny because I just like how they treat it like a disease. It's just like, well, he's got coma.
He's got the coma.
He's got the coma, and really at that point, like no one seems to care that he's in a coma and they're not trying to get him out of it. I like that too. It's just like, oh, he's in a coma forever and we're going to experiment on him.
He's going to be in the coma for 40 years. Just no one's like,
yeah.
Oh, he's still alive? Like, yeah, just no one bothers, to kind of check on it. He's just, he's still hooked up.
Yeah, I love that. But anyway, so Ricky's like hooked up to machines. He's in a hospital. There's a doctor that's been experimenting on him for apparently quite a while as he's trying to figure out this new system where they can bring him back to life with an artificial brain implant. And hopefully...
It's not... I don't think it's it's not an artificial brain implant. It's...
I guess they reconstructed it.
But it's not artificial, and they've stimulated his brain to bring back his motor function, like breathing and heartbeat. And then they think they might have stimulated his memories. It's
like Lovecraftian in a sense, like Reanimator style.
I mean, you're using that word, very liberally.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not saying this is on par with Lovecraft. I'm saying it's inspired by Lovecraft.
The voodoo science in this is very voodoo, just like, why? Because the movie told you.
Yeah.
You don't see, or,
Well, really, what this film is at 1989, it's saying... What's popular at this time? Well,
psychic.
We had Carrie, we had Firestarter. Stephen King seems to like psychic characters. What if we put a psychic character in here?
By that time, Halloween 4.
Yeah, yep, you're right. Halloween 4.
Curse of Michael Myers.
Didn't
by that time...
Friday the 13th, like part 7, I think it was.
Didn't by that time Nightmare 2 have psychic?
Yeah.
With like Dream Warrior?
Oh yeah, that would have been way before this one. So
like I said, I'm like, man, was this like a, I said, I wasn't really clicking until then. Like, this must have been like a very popular stereotype in the late '80s, early '90s for your horror films. Psychic shit. Why? Because that's why. And not only that, there's in the previous 2 films, there's been nothing to hint towards psychic powers. In this, they're like, there's a character in here. She's got psychic powers. And like, okay.
Yeah.
Not questioned or anything.
Yeah, just please.
Just the one cop's like, I'm not much up on that mumbo jumbo. And it's like, so all of a sudden in this world, they're psychics,
Yeah, I mean, because if you're thinking about Silent Night, Deadly Night, the series, and you come into Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, you're like, wasn't this series about like a killer Santa Claus? And now in Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, it's like, this series is about some guy in a coma who has a psychic link to another woman.
Some blind teenager.
Yeah. It like as we mentioned in the beginning, it has nothing to do with any of the other Silent Night films. And so
except that it's Ricky.
I mean, it makes sense for one thing that I can't see many people after Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 being like, wow, I can't wait for a sequel. Because basically that movie is just a recap movie. It's like taking an anime episode that comes in the middle of the show, like episode 13, where it's like, what happened in the past 12 episodes? That was Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Because it's just like, did you see the first film? If you didn't see the first film, let's catch you up. And there's like a couple new things that's going to happen here. But then Silent Night 3 Deadly Night 3 comes along and it completely shakes up all of that. And really the only thing that it carries over is Ricky. And then it has a couple laughs about there being a Santa Claus in this film. Because this film is technically set on Christmas Eve.
You would never get if you weren't paying attention to any of the audio in this film. You would never know it's a fucking Christmas movie.
I mean, there's like a couple of lights here and there.
What, a drunk Santa.
Drunk Santa.
A tree and some presents. An old granny from
you know
Beverly Hillbillies.
You know it's Christmas Eve because Granny's basting a turkey. So it's got to be Christmas Eve because why else would she be making a nice turkey dinner?
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I mean, it could be Thanksgiving, I guess. But yeah, no, those are the only clues that you get. And then obviously the people literally expositing that it's Christmas Eve. Going home for Christmas? Going to see Granny? Come back after the holiday?
So why'd you see Santa in your dream? Well, because it's Christmas Eve.
Man, oh man.
All that needs is a laugh track. Like,
it really does, yeah. It really does. So, anyway, we got Ricky in a coma. We got a doctor. We got a blind woman named Laura, who apparently has been crafting a psychic link with Ricky. And so what she's seeing when she crafts this psychic link is not Ricky like murdering people in Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 and yelling out, "Garbage day!" Nope, it's not that, Ricky. What she sees is a flashback to the first Silent Night, Deadly Night, when Ricky's parents are murdered by a killer Santa, which he didn't experience because he was a baby.
And you see, yeah, no, it was great because you brought it up. It's like, it's not even like from his brother's perspective, who's old enough to remember that traumatized him in the first film to go on the murdering spree. But it's from like the kid, like some guy was like filming this, like, you know, oh shit, like, you know.
Yeah, it's because everything that we see, for one thing, the film never really explains like how Laura's actually seeing this because she's blind. So, like, what is she actually seeing? Or is she seeing the events, like, in her mind? Is she hearing the events and we're seeing them as the camera? None of it makes sense. It makes not a lick of sense what she's actually experiencing when she has these flashbacks. But the weird thing that really stood out to me is that none of those flashbacks actually occur, and they don't really affect Ricky. And, like, he wasn't there for almost all of them. You would expect him, in his traumatic experiences, to be thinking about like the time when he murdered people. And she might see those and think like, wow, look at Ricky. He's a giant murderer and stuff like that. But no, it goes back to Silent Night, Deadly Night 1. And that tells me one thing. That the makers of this film had no rights to Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 for whatever reason. Because they
probably had 3 different production distribution companies.
Yeah, and they didn't use any scenes from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. So I'm just guessing that they had no rights to it.
You know what? I'm glad they didn't use Warm Side in the Door in this.
Nope.
No, I'm serious. I'm glad. As much as I love it, and that like as I become more and more nostalgic about the first one, like it's becoming in my mind. I've been over the past 2 years building that film up in my mind to be like, wow, it's like so much better than I remember just because of that one scene. But I'm glad that's not in there in this film because then it would like probably like if it was in this film and the last one, probably tarnish the legacy,
ruin it.
It makes watching the first one even better.
Yeah.
But at least with the second one, the second film's so bad and cheaply done that it's in enjoyable format.
Yeah, because
where this one is just a objectively bad film.
Yeah.
You can have the opinion of I like Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3. You cannot state as fact Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3 is a good movie.
No.
Because you're wrong. You're objectively wrong.
Well, let's talk about why it's not a good movie. So we're going through the plot itself. We set up that part about Psychic Ricky and Psychic Laura.
Which, by the way, writers, at the time, why are you making your job so much fucking harder? With adding, like, psychic links and all this other nonsense. It's literally, the first film is just about a fucking kid who goes crazy and, because of a traumatic experience at Christmas and thus commits crimes on Christmas.
Yeah.
Simple. Why do you have to, like, add all this unnecessary bullshit? You're literally, like, straining your own mind in the writing process. You're literally just, like... Well, thinking of, like, well, we gotta, like all horror films eventually do when it comes to sequels. Like, well, we just gotta make it more and more fucking ridiculous, where it's like, just make it just make it simple.
Well, the thing with this film, too, is that you don't need that entirely complex idea about psychic links. If we're talking about, like, and this is a stretch, but still, in Silent Night, Deadly Night 1 and 2, really what those themes boil down to is traumatic experiences that stick with you. and that they're almost kind of viral. So when one person experiences it, it becomes a virus that continues to spread. And they cause more and more havoc, and then other people are caught up in it, and that trauma continues. So really, all they needed to do was take one of those people from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 and make them go crazy as a killer Santa because they fucking experienced Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
You could literally just have like somebody who survived Ricky's, you know.
Exactly, and then they're like, they can't cope with it. They see Santa Claus, and they go nuts. That's all they needed. They really didn't need to go this in depth with like psychic connections and Ricky with his fucking brain cut open.
Especially seeing as it's so damn shallow. It's like why bother adding all these like innovative, you know, like
the
and I'm using
ideas.
and I'm air quoting innovative, you know, like with you with Lovecraftian, you know. It's just like why bother? Just you know what you are. Especially seeing this is a direct to video. You know what you are. Just keep fucking going with until then the money well runs dry when you're like, all right, we're not making money off this anymore, and you move on.
And at the very least, the minimum, make it Christmassy. Because seriously, how really, even though this probably had a very low budget, I'm guessing it had a really low budget, why couldn't they just splurge a little on Christmas decorations? Just a little bit. I don't understand it. Make it Christmassy. I realize that maybe in California they didn't really have the money to just go and rent a snow machine and make a bunch of snow for it, or even put down like the fake stuff that they use in most movies. But then don't film it in California. Film it someplace snowy.
And by the way, I'm assuming it's California.
No, it definitely is. There's a license plate that said California on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
well.
So.
But they had to hide the wild turkey, you know.
Yeah.
Label on the, you know, which by the way, when they were like, that's not something I would ever really sit down and like pour like, you know, some like 4 fingers of like wild turkey for me and like my sister and be like, Merry Christmas.
I don't know. Well, let's continue on with the plot a little bit here. So
especially because I think it was 101.
Probably. It did look like it, yeah. So once Ricky and Laura, we established that connection, Laura decides she doesn't want to continue with this experiment anymore. She's going home for the holidays. She's meeting with her brother, Chris, and his girlfriend, Jerry. And they're all heading home to Granny's house because Granny's making a great big Christmas dinner. However, Ricky is taunted by that Santa Claus that has been going around the hospital. And he comes to life, jumps out of his coma.
What is it with this film this film series that every Santa Claus is a fucking
Some sort of psychopathic asshole.
drunk, you know?
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, apparently someone had a bad experience with Santa Claus in their childhood, and now they're taking it out on
Just everyone's like, you know.
Yeah.
You want to drink? Wait, no, you don't. You're a vegetable.
Yeah.
You know, what a rip-roaring time, you know.
It's bad. One thing, though, that really bothers me about this film is that nothing ever happens. So the entire storyline after we meet Ricky and Laura is centered around Laura, Chris, and Jerry as they make their way home in a car. And as Ricky makes his way to that same house because he knows where they're going and he wants to confront Laura in a similar fashion to like Halloween. Because really that idea is stripped from Halloween, where a killer is making his way to the house on a holiday to kill his one obsession. Right from Halloween. But the thing that is really annoying about this film is that nothing ever happens. So even in those scenes where Ricky is now out of his coma and he's attacking people, we don't see it. We don't see any of those scenes. We see the aftermath sometimes, but the act that he's taking, we don't see. And so we're left with scenes where like all of a sudden it cuts to a nurse and she's dead. Or it cuts to a guy and he's laying on the side of the road and he's dead. In Ricky's hospital scrubs, which miraculously he fits the same body type as the guy he hijacks the car.
That's a trope in movies I love where like, you know, somebody kills somebody or, you know, takes their clothes from them. And it's like, oh, they just, you know, the whole Terminator, like, you know.
What I'd
like,
love to see.
I need your clothes. Wouldn't it be great? It's like, I need your clothes. He puts the clothes on. It's like, oh, like, you know, they're regular jeans, but on him, they're high waters.
Yeah, or like they're just like humongous on somebody. Just like, wow, I didn't fit into these. And now I'm wading through these pants.
It's funny too now, especially when I think back to Terminator. The guy that Arnie gets his clothes from, doesn't look
Not as big as Arnie.
No, not at all.
I know, I love that. But this film, it really lacks a sense of direction. There's just nothing happening in it whatsoever. And so Monty Hellman, the director, has no any understanding of what would be good direction. The entire film drags. It's a 90-minute film. It's slow as hell.
I think also I think they made this film in a month.
Yeah, really, probably really quick turnaround.
So I don't know as much. So that's the case, you can't really blame him as much because it's probably like we got one shot at this. Let's go.
I would just say that.
Granted, you're right. It's not good at all. It's not acceptable, but at the same time, it's like
I think even noting that though, what this film really needs, if they didn't do reshoots or anything, is just cuts. It needs like scenes trimmed down. Every scene needs to be trimmed down like 2 minutes. Because even if we were talking about the opening scene of this film, Laura crosses the room. And it takes like 3 minutes for her to cross a room and look at Ricky.
I don't know why, but that opening sequence and the way the room looked and whatnot, stereotypical all white like hospital room and stuff, for some reason it just reminded me of like Manhunter.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just like with, like scenes of Brian Cox in the hospital, as
Manhunter, this is not.
Well, obviously, I'm just saying, but like, I just remember like, the hospital.
I think you're even maybe drawing conclusions because Bill Moseley kind of looks like, what's his name from
the lead actor?
I can't remember his name, but right now, but who plays Hannibal? He kind of looks like him in that.
Oh, Brian Cox.
Brian Cox, yeah, that's right. He kind of looks like him in.
I thought you were talking about the detective.
No, that's William Peterson, who played Grissom in CSI. But no, he I get this scenario because he kind of does look like him, and that scene does look like the hospital room within.
But again, at the same time, that's like just a trope of like films in the '80s that were obviously everything's fucking white, like this, ridiculous,
Yeah,
white. I get it, but like just for me, like with my mind, like kind of think of like that kind of design. I just think of Manhunter. Don't know why. It just it's the first thing that pops to mind.
But I think that the film's biggest problem is just that nothing happens, right? I mean, even the film is just boring. Straight up boring.
Tedious.
It's not fun at all. Nothing fun happens. It's really just watching really boring things happen over and over and over again.
It's very tedious. It's almost like this is definitely a film I would say you're going to be looking at your watch several times. Are we like come on, like
yeah, are we done? Right. Yeah. Because first of all, like the film has no direction, so you're not even really sure where it's going to.
And it takes forever to get where it's going. It's the first 45 minutes just like the first 20 minutes of them dicking around the hospital like about like Laura and Dr. Newberry and like her psychic powers, and they flippantly mention like she's blind, but then like you don't realize she's blind until like fucking 3/4 of the film because up until that point she's not acting like she's blind.
Yeah, that's another big thing is that blindness is really, you can tell is just there because they wanted it to be there.
Yeah, no, it's totally arbitrary. It's like, why is she blind? There's no reason for her to be blind. Maybe it's just she's just blind. So Granny, like when Ricky shows up to Granny's house to kill Laura, and he's waiting just so because he's Frankenstein's monster essentially in this film. So Granny be like, oh, my granddaughter's handicapped just like you too.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other reason for it, and the blindness itself, like, it doesn't really come into play because most of the time Laura doesn't really act like she's blind at all. Like, there's no like the way she just maneuvers around things. There's one scene where she gets to Granny's house, she just walks over and sets her coat down on a couch. And there's no explanation for it. Well, she really shouldn't know that it's there.
Well, no, they do because when she notices the chair's not where it's supposed to be.
I don't buy it.
I mean, granted, it's like 2 inches to the right of where it's supposed to be.
I don't buy it.
And, but she's like, with her brother's like, she knows that, we practically grew up here. she knows where everything is supposed to be.
I
don't buy that
still
either.
don't buy it.
No, you're right. I don't buy that either.
If you're blind, you still put your hand out to be like, make sure that the couch is there. Because what if Granny rearranged?
Or why does she have like a cane too?
Well, she does, but she put it down. She set it down in like an umbrella stand beforehand. So.
See, that's like
like
that's the only time that's the only time then apparently you see it because throughout the rest of the film you don't see her carrying a cane around her.
Yeah, it's like like I said, I don't buy it because I would think if you're blind, you still would reach out and touch something before you actually set your coat down. It just really threw me out of like she's not blind. This actress isn't really fucking blind. I don't believe it.
Yeah, I imagine they probably shot this film in sequential order.
Probably.
And then probably oh shit, she hasn't been acting, but like she's blind. They get to Granny's house like, Laura, you gotta act like you're blind. Like,
yeah, it does seem like when they get to the end, she does act more and more like she's blind. But I don't know.
I'll knock the light out, so now we're even.
It really is arbitrary though. It's super arbitrary. It doesn't make a difference whatsoever. But like I would say that the film itself, like it really has no sense of character. Laura is not really a character, and that's partially because of the actress Samantha Scully. She really does not do a good job in an acting way. She is, like you said before, very wooden. Really just delivering her lines, just like saying it.
Just a piece of beechwood. Just
just saying lines. Just I don't like her, Chris. I don't like her.
You gotta open up to people. Her brother's like,
I see him.
Her brother's, played by the guy who looks like his other job is being in a Megadeth cover band.
He's got some awesome hair.
Yeah, totally. Like I said, he looks like fucking the lowest of rent Dave Mustaines in this film. Just halfway through the film, he breaks out into like a poor man's like peace sells.
Yeah.
But not only that, Laura and Jerry, Chris's girlfriend, they look the same.
They do really look similar.
Why would you have them have like the same haircut?
Yeah.
Especially because they literally look the same, like the same height. They had the same hair color. They literally look. I didn't know like who the fuck was who for half.
The only way you know is when Jerry takes her top off
for no reason.
Yeah.
Which I was telling you because the first thing they do when they get to Granny's house, like Chris, like I'll look for see if
some food.
You go get the bath ready. I'm telling you right now. If I ever went to my significant other's house for like a family Christmas dinner, she's like, "You want to take a bath?" I'm like, no, I don't want to fucking take a bath.
Yeah, I mean, especially not because
I don't want to take a sexy time bath with you. No, not here. No.
Well, I mean, especially because they don't know where Granny is right now.
Yeah,
like Granny's missing, so they're just like, let's go take a bath.
What happened on this? The trip to Granny's house. We're like, oh, we gotta take a bath.
We're dirty.
Did they stop for like McDonald's along the way and like got mustard on? Like, oh, clothes are dirty. I have to wash.
I don't know.
them.
You underestimate when it's time to get freaky. You're just feeling it.
I can tell you right now. Don't think I wouldn't have.
You with like visions of Granny being in the next room. You wouldn't be like in the mood.
God no.
I actually just watched the King of Queens Christmas episode
great.
last night.
I can tell you, if I ever was, it wouldn't be like, let's set it up with the tub. It'd be like this has to be a quickie.
Quick and done.
Like let's get this over with.
The tub is like, we're going to be here a while.
Obviously.
Yeah.
No, who takes a bath and then like they sit in the tub for like 3 minutes, like, all right, like, good, like a shower. Like,
well, just because...
I waited 12 minutes for the tub to fill up, but now I'm like, all right.
Just because, too, like, the tub is just like... The logistics of being in a tub and doing stuff is just not very good. I mean,
especially that tub is a tiny tub.
Yeah, it's not. The logistics just don't work very well.
And Chris is a hulking man in this film. He's kind of, pretty.
And also, just a PSA, it's not really good to do things wet, like water wet, because it just makes things like how you get that squeakiness on your skin when you're wet and you like try to like rub your skin. It's like that, but with a penis and a vagina. So this is probably not a good idea.
Dr. Ryan here. Telling you to stay away from bath time. If you're going to do it, do it in the shower.
You'll end up with penile lesions. So it's not a good idea. No. Some medical advice. The other thing.
What a great story that would be to tell your doctor. Like,
yeah.
So
We're at Granny's when we couldn't wait, so we had to take a bath.
So we had sex in the tub, and friction happened, and now I got these cuts on my dick.
Yeah?
Yeah, here's some ointment. Don't do that again.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. One other thing that I really like about, well, not really like, but I think is funny in this film, is that it spends like 5 minutes on Ricky's doctor and a cop in the car, talking about the cop's car cell phone.
And how he sells something.
And how he says, why? What difference does it make to the plot whatsoever that he has a cell phone in the car?
That scene probably wasn't written in the script. Probably like, we need to pad this film out. You guys have a conversation. They just probably went from there.
Yeah, it seems so random. And the only other time it's brought up is when the cop gets a call on his car cell, and when he answers it, it doesn't work very well. So it's just like kind of a little joke.
Yeah, true to the late 80s. Well, also true to the late 80s, like.
Yeah, but it's just like, really? 5-minute scene of like them talking in the car about a car cell phone? But I will say, you can absolutely see the Halloween references here too, because the doctor is basically Loomis.
Yes.
And the cop is basically like the cop from Halloween.
Yeah, well,
it's like, I don't believe what's going on here, but I'll trust you right now.
Yeah, and our Loomis in this film is fucking also in Taboo 5,
Yeah. Well,
he looks like an 80s porn actor. Literally, like, after I'm done with this film, I'm going to, do something with Kate Parker afterwards in this lovely film. Getting paid a lot more to do that film, too, by the way. I'm just doing this. Just doing this on the side,
Show him a dick. Yeah, I did like how there's that sense that they just ripped off Halloween with a Loomis.
You're right. Like, the more you bring it up, and the parallels are definitely there.
Yeah,
because Ricky's literally like a combination, like Frankenstein's monster and Michael Myers just kind of smashed together because he's,
Mm-hmm. And he's just got an obsession now because he has that sort of psychic link. And that's like from Halloween, they do kind of come up with like a psychicness to it.
Later.
Right, later. But at this, what you could call it is just like an unlikely obsession, because that's what Michael has, really. The obsession in Halloween doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's not really explained, besides the fact that he just wants to murder his family. No. But
it's a good film.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's forgiven. You don't need to know every detail in this film. This film's not a good film. So then you're going to be, more apt to ask these type of questions.
Yeah, but the connections are really here, and you can absolutely see a Halloween scenario playing out. And even sometimes, this is probably a stretch and not really meant within this film, but I do see some Black Christmas connections too. Like the ending that ends with them with all the cops wheeling out.
You're right, because I was actually kind of hoping too that we'd find Granny and kind of the way it was kind of being like shown about like how they were leading up to like showing Granny. I almost was thinking Black Christmas, being like in the attic, tied up and dead.
Yeah, because there are some parallels. Even some of the sound effects, like some of the cues and score effects sound like Black Christmas. But I don't know if that's really was intentional or if it just kind of happened that way.
I think it's happened.
Yeah. One really ridiculous thing is that the film ends with Ricky pretty much getting killed. And then the conclusion is him just saying, in a happy new year. And he's in a fucking suit.
Nice tuxedo.
Don't know why that occurs. Don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Young Frankenstein. That's what I got out of it. I was supposed to be like, if you're blue.
Yeah, right? I guess they just had to get Bill Moseley in one more time.
That's what his contract, dictated. He had to have a certain amount of minutes in this, in the film. He'd like a minute shy, and like, all right, we'll tack this on to satisfy his contract.
Yeah, I don't know, like the makers of this. I don't know why you'd ever want to have like Happy New Year in there, as though like Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 might be a
Happy New Year,
like a New Year's version of this, because no one was going to watch it after they saw this.
How is this film not be the deathbed in this franchise?
Who knows? I mean, I don't think it gets better from here, for sure. To be honest with you, I've never seen 3, 4, or 5, so I don't know what comes next.
Well, I guess after this, I can't see how.
After this,
how was this film profitable? I can't imagine it.
4, I know. 4 and 5, they have really nothing to do with the others in the series.
I know, but I'm still saying, like, the first two films are cult films.
Yeah.
This one, at least, I can't remember, was the second one to theaters, or was it direct?
I'm not sure if the second one did make it to theaters. That I don't know. It might have been direct to video.
Because this is direct to video. And the first two films are cult films. Very niche. At least the second one's niche because it's a bad film that's so bad it's good. The first film, though not a good slasher by any means, has enough like things going on to it that have achieved its cult status with its controversy and the warm side of the door.
Yeah.
That, and it was in theaters, to warrant a sequel. But after the second one and after making this, like, how could they, like, ever... I can't see the third one being profitable, especially seeing as it was made as a direct-to-video movie in a time where buying VHSs weren't exactly cheap, as we saw from the fucking trailer where they said valued retail price $90.
Yeah.
So the first film has a niche following. The second film has an even more niche following. How the fuck could this film have made money? Even on like a $200,000 budget, how could it have made enough money to where you're like, we made like $10,000 on that film. Let's make a fourth one. I
have no idea. And to be honest with you, it's even surprising that like Silent Night, Deadly Night 1 got a sequel, and it didn't for a couple of years until it really became like on a VHS where it hit the market. Because even in theaters,
granted, movie rentals would drive that.
Yeah.
Back then, because again, VHSs are expensive back then, so movie rentals.
Yeah, in theaters, Silent Night, Deadly Night did horrible. It got pulled because people were outraged that there was going to be a killer Santa.
And we talked about that.
We did, and I watched, because I just recently watched the Silent Night, Deadly Night release from Scream Factory, and it has a 45-minute documentary about it. And they talked about how that film unintentionally got their trailer played during like Sunday daytime football, where like everybody was around the TV, like the whole family was watching football that day. And the fucking kids were watching that trailer that's airing right before Christmas. It's like November. And then they are fucking terrified. And parents were pissed. And that's the reason why parents were pissed. Because they've already been through it with Halloween. They were been through it with some other films around holidays. But this time, they aired the trailer at a specific time where like kids would actually see this, like, it wasn't like very violent. It's not like it was like a red band trailer or anything like that. But it was at that time something that really got the ire of parents, and that's why it did so poorly. So even to spawn a second sequel, that occurred because of the VHS wave that was hitting at that time, and that VHS was really making it big, and people saw, and they were like, "Whoa, Silent Night, Deadly Night!" That really got panned by the box office because parents were, rallying against it. So I've got to see it. So they rented it, and it did well. So they did Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. And then, so I'm assuming that kind of came down the line to Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. But you're right. After Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, like what kept this franchise going from there? Because I can't see very many people renting this and then saying to their friend, like, you've got to see this. Because we talked about this. This is not a so bad it's good film. This is a bad film.
It's an objectively bad film, and it's not fun. It's not a fun watch.
It's not a fun watch. I can see maybe if somebody caught it at the right time, they were with friends, they were at a party or something, and they just happened to laugh at the badness of it, then you might be nostalgic and like it.
However, who would put this on as like a film in the background?
Maybe on accident. I don't know. But for most people, even watching it, to watch it as like a Troll 2 style, it's so bad it's good. It's not fun. There's nothing fun about it. It's not fun to make fun of because there's nothing. It feels like you're hitting low-hanging fruit, and then there's just nothing that happens. So it's really hard to even find the merits in like making fun of it or watching it to laugh at it. Just nothing there. And that is really the kicker, is that how did it spawn a Silent Night, Deadly Night 4? That's why they need a 45-minute documentary about Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. And I don't believe it's gotten any sort of like Blu-ray release.
Good.
I think it's pretty much been...
Some films deserve to be kind of lost in time.
Yeah, because even like those films that aren't really that great, that, some of the boutique places release, like Scream Factory or Arrow Video or things like that, those films are still kind of with merit.
And
like culturally relevant. Some people have found that, yes, they are like an interesting film to watch. Whereas I would argue Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 is not interesting to watch. There's nothing that really anybody's going to find of merit here.
It's not self-aware either. It's not like Thanksgiving where it's self-aware that this is going to be a shitty movie.
Yeah.
So you don't get like at least the fun out of like, they know it's a shitty movie. They know this is going to be terrible.
Nope. And
that they're kind of reveling and enjoying like, look, we have no budget. We don't know what the fuck we're doing, essentially. We're just film students. This is the film we made, And so, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. This film does have very little merit. And it probably won't be like re-released until like maybe if down the line somebody decides
it's like the last thing they've got.
Like that, or they decide like let's do a box set of the films.
The only thing I could see is like Scream Factory next year doing Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 just because they've done the first one and they got the rights to it, and then maybe moving on to Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. I could see them doing that maybe just to finish out the series. But I really there's nothing else here that's. It's almost like the reason why Leprechaun really hasn't gotten a special release, because because when we did that film, we realized like this is just not really a good film at all. The only good part about it,
that's different because that at least has Jennifer Aniston in it.
Yeah.
So even no matter if it was a bad film that's enjoyable, which that's debatable on whether or not. Because Leprechaun, that's an interesting position of like some people know it's so bad that they enjoy it, or like we just like it's just not a good film. That's different because Jennifer Aniston's in it, and it's her first ever motion picture.
Right.
So that's going to have cultural significance because whether you like it or not, Jennifer Aniston's a big name, and if you're at least of our age, because you want to know what I don't know if this will surprise you or not. Guys of our age that I talk to. I don't know if you ever had this conversation or not. Guys that I talk to, 25 to 30, hottest, older woman, Jennifer Aniston, by a mile. Hear that all the time. Like
I could see it.
Like if someone mentions Jennifer Aniston of our age, you're like, she's fucking hot. And so like, she's old though. She's like 50. It's like she's fucking hot. It's true.
Yeah,
Jennifer Aniston still hot, and she's very widely recognizable from Friends. And a bunch of other shit. So that's different. There's no one in here that you're like, going to be like, I got to watch this film because even though it's like a totally shitty film, Bruce Campbell was in it.
Right.
Or something like
the
that.
The only thing would be Bill Moseley. Because he is recognized. He does do a lot of horror films.
But again, that's that's very niche.
True.
It's not like he's only recognizable to very hardcore horror fans.
It is, yeah. I mean,
especially if you're like a grindhouse style fit,
Yeah, a lot of Rob Zombie, a lot of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then some of the other films he's done besides those, he might be recognizable. But other than that, yeah, I would say that not many people are gonna rush to Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 and be like, I gotta watch it because Bill Moseley's in it. It's just not. It's not something that is going to appeal even to people who are fans of Bill Moseley. They may not really recognize Silent Night. Because really, in this film, he doesn't do much. He wanders around like a zombie.
It's sad. He's probably the best actor in this film.
Yeah.
They don't give him anything to do. He's just literally, like I said, he's Frankenstein's monster. He's just wandering around. And all he needs is like the stereotypical arms up, like hands.
Yeah. And then all he does is mumble Laura.
Mm-hmm.
Laura. And that's it. That's all he does. It was probably the easiest paycheck he's ever had. And it probably was filmed in the span of like 2 days. Maybe 1 day.
I want to know why they thought it was necessary to give him that fucking fish tank of a head,
Because their only reason was because they wanted to put that hat on him. So that it looked ridiculous when they put a beanie hat on him.
And you can still like it's
see the fish.
It's sitting on lopsided and you can see. Yeah. I almost think though that was unintentional though, like the hat, because the hat clearly could totally fit over, that fucking.
Maybe they had to shoot it so many times that it just came off, and they're like, I don't know, just go with it.
But I mean, like it's like you didn't need that. You just like they just did it to like make it look like ooh, as you said, Lovecraftian, like ooh, Because again, it's not like that. What they did for his head, the design of like showing like his head, it's not like for the time period that it would fit. It's something like fucking steampunky, like something you would see like what people in the 1880s thought the future would entail.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, I don't know if you remember on Cartoon Network, like Evil Con Carne with the show by Maxwell Adams that was a spin-off of Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
No.
And the one evil, I can't remember the evil doctor, but he's trapped, his brain's trapped in like hooked up to a bear. And the way his brain is set up into the bear is exactly like that. It's a purple bear, and then he's got his brain encapsulated in a globe on top of his head like that. He very well could have taken that idea, taken that from this film, because there's a lot of like niche like horror references in Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Evil Con Carne. Mainly, well, it's not horror, but they have a parody of Snake Plissken in Grim Adventures with Diedrich Bader playing as Hoss Delgado. It's fucking amazing. You should watch it. You should watch that show. You would love it because it's right up your alley with all the horror tropes and callbacks.
Yeah. Should we give this a rating? Do you have anything else that you wanted to say about it before we give it a rating?
Yeah, quick note.
Oh, sure.
Soundtrack for this film.
Yep.
Fucking appalling.
Yeah.
And annoying.
It's a noodling keyboard soundtrack in the high registers.
Yes. And it's not like I can tell it's trying to be Christmassy.
I guess, yeah.
Well, because like some of like the notes is like trying to come up as like well, not like Christmas songs, but like kind of like bell-like, but it's like shitty, like electric keyboard synth. Like I can see somebody with like a $10 like Yamaha guitar sitting there, like putting this out, like, and then putting it through like some kind of shitty
pedal or something.
Yeah, to like, oh, it's just it's terrible, and like just you're right. Noodling and meandering just about like throughout like the scenes in the film. It is to me distracting. Just like when like what's going on here? And you're like doo 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 doo.
Yeah, or like in the beginning they have just like one really high pitched drone sound.
Which is fine if if it like fits what's going on, if it's like the right kind of drone, because obviously horror films do have, like, especially in like the 70s and 80s, have like a lot of droning soundtracks and scores, the kind of like have like the scene muted, and then you can have like the musical cue to kind of like raise what's possibly going to happen. But in here it just sounds so cheap and shitty. It's tacky.
Yeah. I
wish the film didn't have a score at all. I wish it was scoreless. Just like no music at all.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I think it sounds. I don't know. I mean, surprised you don't really have much more to say about it, because I absolutely think the soundtrack in this film is dreadful.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't very good. I didn't really pick out on it very much. Like it didn't stand out to me, but to you were really upset by it.
It's because it's like a constant throughout the film. It's not like there's moments of silence. There's constant like doo 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 doo.
Yeah.
Some failed NES composer,
Yep. All right, let's give this a rating. I
do have another thing.
All right, yeah.
Sorry. Because we did mention this. As we both know, the highlight of the original film is the warm side of the door.
It's true.
This film has a very big problem with doors.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Yeah.
Ricky steamrolls through like 5 different doors in Granny's house.
Just blast through them.
But that would have actually been a great time to use warm side. Like, have a chase scene where he's just bursting through doors and like scaring people on the other side of doors. Set to
warm side of the door.
Just wow. You know what? I want somebody to do that. I want the guy who did inappropriate use of Holiday Road. Do that video.
Inappropriate use of
warm side
of the door. Would work. I'd like it. Christmas edition. All right. So out of 10 car cell phones, what would you give Silent Night, Deadly Night 3? Better watch out.
I'll give it a 3 out of 10.
Okay.
It's a bad film.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
This is a very bad film, and it's not enjoyable. It's only 90 minutes long, and it feels like it's you're watching Once Upon a Time in the West. You're sitting through a 3-hour plus film. This is bad. It's not enjoyable at all. The story's incoherent. it doesn't make any sense. You can tell they wrote this fucking thing in a week.
Yep.
That they add plot elements that don't need to be there, are totally unnecessary, aren't even explored or explained. It's overly complicated and convoluted. The acting in this film is atrocious. Everybody in this film, outside of Bill Moseley, is wooden. And you can kind of argue he's kind of wooden, but he's supposed to be kind of wooden because he's essentially a zombie.
Yeah.
As I said, the soundtrack's atrocious. There's nothing enjoyable about this film. I didn't have any fun watching this film. None whatsoever. I was getting kind of agitated by the end by watching this film. Like, this is, like, wasting my time. It's like Mako, the killer shark, bad and deplorable. And, like, it's like, I question this film's existence.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't understand why this was even made. It's a total waste of my time. It's a total waste of... If you like the first two films, don't bother. You'll bother because you watched the first two films. And so out of curiosity, you will watch this film. But
and then you'll wish you didn't, and
then your image of the first two films will be tainted. So...
And you'll say, I should have listened to Blood and Black Rum podcast.
Yeah. And if you didn't like the first two films... just stay away. There's nothing here for anybody. This film has absolutely no merit and no value. I don't give films really a 0 or like a 1 or a 2 because I think the fact that you made it to celluloid deserves at least a 3. And that's what this film gets.
I agree. I don't generally give low ratings, but I think a 3 is pretty much the best for this film because it doesn't do a lot of good things in it. It's really boring. It has no direction. The director doesn't know when to cut scenes. The whole idea of Ricky coming back and being linked to some psychic doesn't fit with the plot of the other films at all. And it really just feels totally disconnected, though they want to connect it to those other two films. Other than that, like, I was doing some research here, and you were right. Ricky never does get shot in the head in the other film, in Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. So for him to actually be brain dead and need a brain transplant
it makes sense if he was brain dead, because if he got shot 12 fucking times in the second film, which you're right, he does get Peter Wellered in this film.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the second film, he does get obliterated at the end. So it makes sense for him to be brain dead because he's lost so much blood, his organ failure, etc., that would happen. But the fact that they add, like, this, like, as you said, the only way I can, like, describe, like, Lovecraftian, Mary Shelley headgear to him.
Yeah.
It's, you know, that's
like,
probably why they
stretch.
tack that, you know, it is a stretch. Like, you don't need that to express that we had to play around with his brain to keep him alive. You can say we played around with his brain. We did we did certain stimulus and this and that, and we were able to resuscitate him. So he's a vegetable, but he's alive, and we're trying to actually get him out of his coma by awaking his memories and psychic links. Which again, it's fucking terribly explained.
Yep.
How are there psychics in this universe? Why are they there? How did they come about? Have they always been part of this? They don't explain the science of how, you know, psychics and empaths work in this, you know, universe. It's just they're
Nothing.
just there. They're just there now.
They just don't give you nothing.
It's just a MacGuffin.
Yep. So yeah, I agree. I think a 3 is a good score for this, and it's definitely not recommended. I wouldn't recommend it to watch for your Christmas viewing because it really has very little to do with Christmas. And just move on. Just go back to the first Silent Night, Deadly Night, because that's the one that you should watch every single year. All right, so next week, what do we have on tap? I think we said Die Hard 2.
I guess.
If you're cool with that,
I guess.
I'd like to do it. We did Die Hard last year.
I kind of want to just do Honor Majesty's Secret Service, but because we'll never cover a Bond film on this.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to happen. I don't expect it to happen. I just kind of it just came to me.
Maybe next year. We'll do it next year.
I'll be dead by then.
No, you won't. We'll do it next year. I think we'll do Die Hard 2. It matches with our continuation of Christmas movies. And it is a Christmas movie, so obviously we wouldn't do Die Hard 3 next year. It's not a Christmas movie. But Die Hard 2,
Samuel L.
It does. But Die Hard 2 is certainly a Christmas movie. So you can catch us next week for Die Hard 2.
I can't remember. So is that subtitle?
I don't think it is actually. I think it is just straight up Die Hard 2.
No, I think it's Die Harder, isn't it?
Nope. I think Die Hard 3 is Die Harder.
It's hard to keep track.
I know. If I remember correctly, Die Hard. Oh no, sorry. Die Hard 3 is Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Die Hard 4 isn't it a Good Day to Die Hard?
Die Hard 4 is Live Free or Die Hard.
So it's I think
And
Die Hard 5
is
a Good Day.
To Die Hard.
I could have swore Die Hard 2 is Die Harder.
Maybe unofficially, but I don't see any reference to Die Harder.
Yeah.
Well, it's
and the tagline. Okay.
Sometimes referred to as Die Hard 2, Die Harder. Okay, all right.
So I'm not retarded.
Well, maybe in the show we'll cover it as Die Hard 2, Die Harder.
Honestly, when it comes to the Die Hard films, as much as I love Die Hard, the only two I know off the top of my head, like kind of verbatim, Die Hard, Die Hard 2.
I don't know Die Hard 2 at all. I've never seen Die Hard 2.
Well, you're missing out.
Well, I'm gonna see it next week.
Because the trajectory of the Die Hard films is it's a total slope.
It's about the same as the plane's descent in Die Hard 2, I'm assuming. All right, so you can catch us next week for Die Hard 2, Die Harder. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, any other podcasting app. You can catch us on Facebook, facebook.com/Blood and Black Rum Podcast. We're on Twitter at Blood and Black Rum. You can find us on our website, bloodandblackrumpodcast.wordpress.com, or on cultsploitation.com as part of the Cultsploitation Podcast Network. And if you're interested, you can join us there. If you're a movie podcast, we'd love to have you on it. Also, we have an email, bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. Send us any emails that you have. If you have any suggestions for the show, if you want to see any changes as we hit 100 episodes, if you have any recommendations for films that we should cover on the show, let us know. And then finally, we have a Patreon page, patreon.com/bloodandblackrumpodcast. You can donate to us. If you pledge $1, you get your name mentioned on the show, and also you'll get any of our new episodes one day early as we start our bi-weekly schedule in January. So hit that up. Donate. It's a monthly donation. Just keep that in mind. And we appreciate anything that you can give back so that we can keep the show going. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoy your Christmas season as we continue on our Festivus series. And we'll see you back next week.
Take care.